In this video, I'll be speaking more deeply to your black arrow and your white arrow as it pertains to open and closed paths. To get started, I need you to add some closed paths to your document. And to do that, I am going to grab my rectangle tool and add a square. And I'll also grab my ellipse tool and add a circle. Okay, and then I'll just move those shapes around using my black arrow. Now again, as you can see, I can obviously select a single shape with my black arrow to move it. I can make a marquee selection by dragging it out to select multiple shapes and moving it. With my black arrow though, I can also work very much the way we did in Photoshop to free transform things. So if I simply click on the shape, you'll see that you get a bounding box. And using the handles, I can come in and size this down, or I can scale it up. I can also hover in the corner to get that curved arrow, and you'll see I can rotate it. Okay, so again, your black arrow can select single items, multiple items, it can rotate, and it can also scale. Now, my black arrow, as I keep calling it, is actually your selection tool. And right next to it, you also have a direct selection tool, which is white. In this class, I always refer to them as black and white. It's just an easier way to tell you to use a specific tool. But I want to point out very much by pointing out the formal names that again, select and then direct select. That just means that we're going to be selecting things more precisely. So if I were to grab my white arrow and come over and hover, you're going to see that I have anchors and paths, anchors and paths. And with my direct select tool, I can grab these individually and make changes. Okay. Now, if I go to do it right now, it's not going to work. And that's because I had it selected previously with the black arrow. So it's treating it as one big object. And I do that very purposefully because at some point you will do the exact same thing. And generally, until you get comfortable with it, it's going to be a little bit frustrating. So when that happens, just click off, deselect your shape, and come back and hover because now you know where these anchors are. Okay. So I'll click on one of my anchors and I'll just drag it in. I'll click on another one and drag it in. Okay. And you'll see obviously I have changed my square into a diamond. But not only can I shift my anchors, I also can come over here and grab a path and I can drag that up. Okay, and I can drag it down, and I can drag it sideways. I can do anything I want to essentially, but I want to just make sure that you understand how changeable this is. Okay, same goes for your circle. So if I come over and select my shape, you'll see I have anchors and paths all the way around. I can shift these again, but you know, if I've selected it incorrectly and it's not doing what I expect, deselect, just click off, come back and hover until you see your anchor and go ahead and click it to make it active. And at this point, you're going to see that your anchors look different on something that is curved than it does when you have something with all straight edges. And so what I have is an anchor and a path and an anchor and a path, but I also have handles. And what these handles do is they allow me to change the curve. So if I drag it out to make the handle longer, it also makes the curve larger. I can drag the handle up to rotate or down, and I can actually go in a full circle. Okay? So what I want you to do is really just play with this and get comfortable with using handles, making big changes to curves and to simpler shapes. Because this is something we'll spend a lot of time doing in Illustrator, particularly for Project 3 as you're drawing your icons. You will be doing this with shapes that exist, that you're using off of your toolbar, but also on things that you draw by hand with your pen tool. Okay, so this is something that we're going to use a lot to alter shapes, but also to fix things. If you've drawn something poorly, I will never tell you to start over. I don't want you to draw it again. I want you to get your white arrow out and try to fix it. Okay. Now again, we've altered and shifted and moved to our heart's content, but that's not all you can do. So because I have my circle active, I'm going to keep working with my circle. And if I come over and say, click on this anchor to make sure it's active, I can also hit delete. Okay, and so I can change my shape. I'm going to hit Command or Control Z as in zebra to undo that. I can come over to maybe this path instead and hit delete. Okay, and you'll see the difference there. What happens as I make those adjustments. I'll do the same over here. Maybe I'll just click on that corner and hit delete. Okay, and you'll see what happens. Again, if I delete that anchor, the associated paths also are deleted and my object changes. The other thing I want you to notice when you do this, okay, is that this is no longer a closed object. Remember, this was closed when I made it. Okay, I had anchor path going all the way around my shape. And if I come back with my white arrow, you're going to see anchor, path, anchor, nothing. This is an open shape. And it still has a fill attached to it. And so I'm going to go ahead and say this multiple times over the next week, but if you are using an open path, you need to focus on your stroke, not your fill. Okay, fill is really unpredictable with open paths. So I'm going to go ahead and eliminate it by making sure that fill is on top. And I'm just going to hit this little button here for none. Okay. I can change my stroke color by clicking on stroke. That's going to bring that to the front. And I'll just use this real quickly to pick a different color. Okay. All right, so again, in this video, I went over black arrow, white arrow, talked about the changes and adjustments you can make to the anchors to change the appearance of a shape, and also discussed how you can delete your anchors and paths to create something entirely different.